Hello!
Welcome to Beyond the Fantasy.
Episode 3.
3.
Hooray!
Hooray! Yay!
Yay. Hope everyone was doing okay. We've just got back from, yesterday we got back from Menhirs Fate, the first event.
Yep.
Ever.
Yep. We're recording almost a week to the day. Exactly a week since our last episode.
Yeah.
Which was our pre-Menhirs Fate episode.
Yeah.
And the build-up, the excitement, the adrenaline, the nerves were starting last week. And
I was never nervous.
So if you've watched that last episode, I said, I think, around 5 o'clock on Friday, I'll definitely feel the nerves about timing in. And he said, there's nothing to worry about, blah, 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 blah. And what did you say on Wednesday? Was it Wednesday?
Wednesday, Thursday morning.
He kept going, don't know why, I'm feeling anxious.
I was feeling anxious, and it's okay to say that.
It is.
No shame in it.
It is, but I did pick on you because you told me that I wasn't
Yeah,
allowed.
I couldn't take my own advice, which is, kind of the hardest thing to do sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess where do we start? We rented a van. This our first time where we decided to really go all out on our camp.
Yeah, with it being the first event and us knowing that there was going to be a lot of space, we thought,
Plenty of space.
Use the space.
Yeah, use it. Yeah.
As opposed to at Empire, where it's very tightly packed and, some people don't make it into the camp at all. We figured, use it.
Yeah.
So we got an awning.
Yep, a 3x3 meter awning.
Yeah.
An archway, and a small awning, which didn't have holes where I thought it had holes, so it was crooked on our tent, but it kept the wind a bit down from as you enter. We had more of it on the wind side, I think, which kind of helped.
It was nice.
Yeah, it was like entering a tunnel into our own cave.
Yeah.
Which is very our nation, Saradonia. It's very much how we wanted it to feel, I guess. Yeah,
and it's lasted a lot longer than the 3x3 awning.
Yeah, that came down Saturday, midday.
Well, I was always having to hammer pegs back in because they were getting pulled up.
It was really windy.
Really windy.
Brand new awning, lost an eyelet. All the other eyelets were going.
Yeah. We
changed how the peg was in it and how it was tied, and it still was just too flappy. We were given great advice by one of our fellow nation members. They did preface at the end, well, not preface because it was at the end, but they said, I know you know what to do. I don't want to
We didn't.
No, yeah.
We didn't know what to do.
We really didn't. That was the second time we ever set that awning up. The first time was in our garden with no wind.
Which has fence all the way around, so even if it was windy, we're never going to see it.
Yeah, and they were like, if you get it as tight and taut as possible, it won't flap around as much. But with how strong the wind was on Saturday, there was no fixing it, so we tore it down. It made our camp look a little bit sadder. I think it looked really good Friday night when we had everything. We had all the lights, but anyways, we rented a van. We'll get back. We've sidetracked so much. We rented a van. We rented it on Thursday. We had most of our stuff pre-packed, ready to go into the van.
Yes.
And we threw it all in.
Yeah.
We had time to spare because we weren't allowed to be on site until 3 p.m. on Thursday.
You liar. We wanted to leave at 2. We ended up leaving at 3:30.
Well, no.
We were not ready.
That's because we took that time to spare and we sat around doing nothing for quite a while.
Yeah. As I said, I was feeling anxious, so I felt like I needed a sit down.
Yeah, he needed a break, and I was more than happy to not rush, knowing that we were going to have all of Friday there to, continue prepping. We had a lot of set decoration, all of the lights around us and crystals and solar lights for the ground. I was like, that stuff can go up on Friday. It's fine. We don't have to do everything. We need the tent, we need the awnings, the archway that we also brought, and some other bits. And that I was happy. So I was fine with not rushing, just as long as we got there before dark, which we did.
Yeah.
We were set up with most of that before dark.
And we got the fire going.
And we had a nice fire going.
Yeah. And we had quite a few people come over and join us, which was exactly what we wanted. It's why we had the awning and the fire, so that people would come say hello. And yeah, it was a really nice night, actually.
Yeah, it was really fun. We had some brand new LARPers come over and sit down with us, and we had LARPers who have been LARPing for probably,
in some cases,
most
decades.
of our lives.
Yeah. Some cases like tens of years.
Yeah.
Some cases like a few years.
Yeah. There was a good mix, and Thursday was really fun. We had a nice chill time by the fire. We drank.
You did.
Yeah. not just me. Other people around me also drank.
Yeah.
I'm a social drinker. I drink with people most of the time.
I was worried about my teeth, so I didn't drink. Feels bad, but it was a good night regardless.
Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was good chatting. We had some really good vibes going with just how the nation was being set up. There were places that were empty between tents that we were like, oh, hopefully someone will come and fill tomorrow, because I think it was about just less than half the player base that was signed up to came on the Thursday, about 300 people.
We heard different numbers. Some people said a third, some people said half.
Yeah, because it was something around 750 to 800 is the number that we were hearing for ticket sales for the event, and about 300 came, but then some said there were people that might come and just buy tickets at the event, which is fair, so it could have upped it. But also, all the crew was around.
So when I was speaking to one of the crew members, they said there was over 200 crew to do the event, which was amazing, and they all did a fantastic job. Yeah,
it was really cool. But So
we camped on Thursday through to Friday.
Yep.
Freezing at night on Thursday.
So cold. We had lovely sun, which warms you, but it was definitely way windier starting Friday.
Yeah.
The wind really picked up, but most of the day when getting ready, I was just in a tank top, in my pants for my character, which are long black, but they were loose, so it was it felt really nice. And we did our makeup, we chilled under the awning. He laid down. I said, let's have a spa day where I put your makeup on, so I gave him his pillow. He lied down and closed his eyes, and I did his makeup for him. And I think it was so much easier for me doing the lines that you wanted on your face when you were lying down, because when you sit up, you're so much more prone to move your head and stuff.
Yeah.
So I did find it a lot easier doing your makeup. But by the end of the weekend, you were doing your own.
Poorly. But I did my own.
Yeah.
Like a real man.
But we had a couple people stop by on the Friday to get ready. One of them I loaned some silver sparkles to help complete the Ceradonia look, and that was pretty close to time in. We cooked over the fire on Friday, actually.
Yeah.
That was really nice. 2 brand new LARPers came and had breakfast with us over the fire, and oh my gosh, I love them. They're great. I think they said they really enjoyed it. They're hoping to go back. We're hoping to go back, and that's really cool. we had bacon, sausage, eggs, and right after that, we started cooking a stew over the fire, which we had, I think we had it around 4 p.m.
About that, yeah.
Yeah, so it was like 2 hours before time in, so that way we were fed, we were drinking water, getting hydrated, because once time in hits, like, you forget about eating, drinking.
Yeah, in this one we definitely did.
Yeah.
I think at Empire we remember a bit more.
Yeah, I think Empire is a bit more structured, because you have, especially on like the Saturday, you have the big battle in the morning, and then you have different meetings that you can go to, or different events that players are hosting like within their groups. So it's a bit more structured, versus this was kind of like the second you wanted to chill, something was going on. Something just started happening.
Yeah, which was the best part.
Yeah.
So, like, something happening just made it really fun. It got loads of people involved, and it really helped us, and made us enjoy it really. But did make things hard to, because obviously everyone gets fear of missing out.
Yeah.
So like something's going on the other side of the camp.
You hear the cries and you're like, what's going on?
Yeah. And you get back to camp, you sit down, you're like, oh, I'll take my belt off, and then you hear cries, and you're like, never mind, let's go see what's going on.
Yeah, because we wanted to reheat the stew later on in the evening. We wanted to get the fire going again on the Friday and like reheat the stew, and we didn't light our fire until probably after 11 a.m. Oh, p.m.
Yeah.
As soon as I said it, I knew that was wrong. But yeah, we didn't, and that was just to heat water for our hot water bottles.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, because it was cold at night. But anyways, let's go back from that.
So yeah, we finished our makeup. Timing started
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
on Friday.
We had a little Cerdonia meeting where our lovely nation support
introduced themselves in character. We had Speaker, Joy,
Stalwart, and then some others that I can't remember the name of. I know what they look like, but that doesn't help you.
No.
And then there was a massive line going into the bank, so we thought, well, we might as well join it now
before it gets longer.
Yeah, because I think we said last week that I was going to do some enchanting, and
we wanted to get it done quick.
Yeah, so that it was all finished, we were ready. That was the last thing to get us properly ready, I think.
Yeah, before time in, we both, because we had the fire going, someone had to stay by the fire, we both took turns going up to the traders to buy some like last minute purchases. So one of Rowan's last minute purchases was hammer.
Yes, because what is a Cerdonia without a hammer?
Yeah, a bonk.
Oh.
It's foam. It's fine. He's fine, guys.
It's real, and it hurt me. And then you got, what did you get?
I got this lovely sparkly leather bag, which is,
it is lovely.
Yeah, it does fit a water bottle, but unfortunately the water bottles that we have is slightly too big. But it does fit a water bottle, but I needed it to fit my player notebook, which has my passport for my character in, as well as notes and drawings that my character has been doing. So I needed something that fitted this, and I talked to many people afterwards about it, where I was just like, yeah, I needed a bag that could fit a notebook like this, and they all kind of went, oh yeah, over the years I've downgraded my notebooks to things that are smaller and ones that you can like take the paper out and replace it and like, store your notes elsewhere. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense, except like my character is like, always drawing and saving things, including her dead chasm fish that she's dried out and they're just stickers, but the chasm fish in our nation brief are like glowing jellyfish, so I found like sparkly jellyfish stickers, and I was like, yeah, chasm fish. I gave I gave 5 to Joy, who's one of our nation support, to give out to all of the nation support, because it's impossible to find all of them all of the time, and I didn't want to forget, and I also gave them each a crystal. So they Joy got back to me later and was just like, everyone loved it, they're so happy, and I was just like, I just wanted them to know that they're appreciated, because we definitely needed their help throughout the weekend. Yeah. And they really did a good job leading us. Yeah,
scaring us as well, which we'll get onto later.
Yeah. So, part of what we went over before with our passports, and we had them on the sheets. After Monday last week when we recorded, I took our passports and I stained them with tea so that they had this like antique-y kind of like look to them. And then this we had to use with our player number at the top at the bank to get our resources.
So we went into that while we were queuing. Some of the gods came over.
Yes.
Which was completely wild.
An aspect of the celebrant, we're pretty sure it was the brewer. Came over and was just like, why are you standing in a queue? I want to drink. None of you want to drink with me? Like, it was so funny. We were all just kind of because I don't think no one in the line expected it. So we all just kind of like, we're thinking it was like a player, and we're just like, well, mate, like we need to get our resources. We got things to do. You know, the bank's holding literally all of our resources. Yeah. And then it kind of hit us. We're like, it's a god, isn't it? That's definitely a god.
Yeah, they were talking like down to us in some ways, you know? Like what are you doing? I've made this lovely place for you, and you're just standing there. That's
when I think it started clicking for everyone in line, that we were like, oh, we're talking to a god right now. And then as a Ceridonian, and in our nation, like, you know, we equally worship all the gods. I was just kind of like, how reverent should we be? Like, should I just drop to my knees right now and be like, I will leave this line and find you a beer? But also at the same time, like, it was a struggle of like, we needed to get the enchantments done so that we were set up for the whole weekend and the whole year, because enchantments last a year.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sad that they'll last a year, because then they'll... Yeah, well, whatever. It's fine.
Okay, I'm not sure what you're thinking, but anyway. My reaction to the gods was, I think, exactly the same as what my character Strike's reaction to seeing a god would have been, which was just, like, confusion and, like, awe. Like, I didn't know what to say. It was a god, and I was just like, what?
Yeah, finally someone else came around and was like, I will get you a drink, come with me. And they went off, I think, like, towards Port-of-Voss, or...
I think it was Port-of-Voss, yeah. Because, of course, they would have booze.
Yeah. We're piratey realm, yeah. But yeah, at the bank we got resources, which are... We did deposit at the end most of our resources to be entered back into the lottery thing, to potentially earn even more back in, and, you know, interest almost. But I did keep some out so that we could show this for the memory of it, and also show our friends who are kind of semi interested in LARP, and your brother who has LARPed, and show him kind of the difference of Empire versus Menhirs Fate. So we both took the air resource, which gives us air and spirit.
So we got 7 air flicker,
Which is the yellow one.
One spirit flicker, one air essence, which we don't have because we used it to enchant, and then one spirit flicker.
Yeah. At the end, I did end up with one water essence. So they look like these little hexagon, and they're supposed to be like a concentrated, crystallized version of the flicker. So they're more powerful. So they're used for different things like enchantment. And then we also got money.
Yep.
I'll let you.
Okay. So this is a 1 saga coin.
I don't know if it'll, because it sees your face.
Yeah, I'll do this. But there is no light, so I'm terrible at that.
You weren't even blocking
After seeing it on YouTube. So the way the money system works is there are essentially coppers, which I showed you, which are called sagas, and 20 of them build into a myth, which is a silver one.
Yep.
And 20 myths then build into a legend, which is a gold one.
Which we did not get to see.
No, I don't know if anyone got to see one actually.
A treasure hunter or two might have seen a legend, I'm sure.
But it was very cool. Like, we waited in line to go inside to the bank tent, which was all in character, so everyone was dressed up. They were like going...
Just give it to me.
They were going like back and forth to like boxes to get like everyone has like their own like little leaflet.
Yeah. Oh no, it's like a whole like booklet. It actually was so much more put together than I thought it was. I was really impressed with the Bank Guild when we got there. They had told us to pre-print our passports before we got there if we could. They did have one copy of all of our passports inside of this like booklet, and it was basically this blue booklet with like a design on the outside with our number at the top. And so every time you went up, they would ask you either for your passport or if you knew your player number, which was the first 3 numbers of the number on your player passport. And they would go get it, they would open it up, and there was more stuff in there than like we dealt with, because there was the copy of your passport and there was like a couple other things that were in that not envelope, it was like a folder almost. But yeah, that was actually like really cool. I was really impressed with, like, when I saw them, I was like, oh my gosh, like what the heck.
It was like a proper bank, which was, I mean, makes total sense, but
like and
something...
I think that's what the vibe that they were going for, so like that, spot on, great, I like it. It's just something you don't coming from Empire, where you have to go out of character to get it. It wasn't something I expected to be so well done.
Exactly. So then we finished that, we got our essence, and we headed straight on over to the enchanting stand, which was
enchanting and apothecary. And then there was also the pottery place and the forge, and the 3 of them were all kind of together, like it right next to the Bankers Guild,
we walked all the way around the other way
to get to. We just like kept going and be like, okay, nope, that is the Court of Daggers, that's the Treasure Hunter Guild, that's the Adventurers Guild, this is the bar, and then finally back to it and found it. And then our enchanter did something really, really exciting, and I'll let you brag about it, because it's really exciting.
So we went up to the stand and I said I'd like to enchant a sword. I've got the air flicker and the spirit flicker.
Oh, essence.
Oh yeah. I haven't seen it in 3 days.
Yeah. It was a purple one and a yellow one. We had 2 of each, so that he could do this enchantment twice. Once for me and once for himself. And this is when we were talking about last week how I figured it out, that a way for you to get everything that you wanted, but it also gave me 1 XP back. So I didn't have to take a skill because you could give it to me.
And then it gave us like an in for our characters. So I think we mentioned it last week how we said that we met in collecting the essence and the flicker, and we used that in the game. Just friends.
Yeah, just friends.
And we got to the enchanting stand, and I said I'd like to enchant, and they said, "Ooh, you'll be our first enchanter."
They're like, oh, the first enchanting of, and we just kind of didn't really like that. Didn't ping, I think, at the beginning.
No.
And then they had to figure it out. They were still kind of like, okay.
It was like 5 or 10 minutes in, and then
they were checking their notes, which was basically they had like all of the enchantment stuff like in a notebook, easy for them to like access, just to double check. And they're like, yeah, that'll take 1 air essence, 1 spirit essence. And I was like, here it is. And then I begged you to do my one-handed weapon first because it was my idea. I just didn't take the enchanting skill.
Here it is. And one thing as well that we that we didn't think about. So I was quite relieved actually, because on the wiki it says you have to roleplay. So I was thinking, I'm gonna have to like get my hammer out and hammer this for like 5 minutes until it's enchanted essentially. But luckily I didn't have to do that. They had like a machine that like spread smoke all over it, which was really cool. And then they asked the dreaded question, what do you call the sword? Which we didn't expect.
They're like, you're gonna need a name for your item. and we just like sat there, and I was thinking, because he was like, I'll let you go and name it because it's your sword. So while he was doing the like role play, he was just kind of holding it in front of him and closing his eyes, and there was one of the crew was holding that machine, and the other crew member behind the scenes was saying like, as you enchant it, now you see like sparkles, like crystals glowing upon it and stuff like that. And they're like, and now what do you call this? I guess we'll go with I can't remember if we went over it last week, but we decided to do one-handed weapon, ambidextrous, because they're both air aligned. So you only needed the 1 air and the 1 spirit essence.
To combine it.
To actually do the enchantment. So I decided to name this lovely sword Both Hands Together.
Which they were very impressed with.
They were like, ooh! And then they go, that's the first item ever enchanted at Haven.
So I think it just means I'm a really good queuer, because I just got into the bank line, waited patiently, and then I just went to the enchanted stand, waited patiently. So there was a couple potions that were made before you. It was the 11th thing that had been done at the stand. So obviously
this is number 11.
And so it must have meant that 10 potions had been made before that.
And then you get a little item card, which has magic item number 11, magic item name, both hands together. And then on the flip side, it has magical effects, and it's one-handed weapon enchanted with ambidextrous.
And then it was also on the ribbon as well.
Just not the name of the item. So I constantly, when telling people afterwards, because my character was really excited that her weapon was the first weapon ever enchanted, first item ever enchanted, and walking around with the enchanter all the time, she goes, meet the both. And I for Friday afterwards, I couldn't remember the name. I just remembered his was really bad.
It was bad, So after I enchanted hers...
This is his ribbon.
That's my ribbon, which I had a bit of a nightmare of as well.
That sword.
Anyway. I enchanted my sword, and they said, what do you want to name it? And I was like, I don't know what to say. So I was like, I'll just go with the same like naming system that you did. So obviously both hands together, and I went with the other hand sword because it was my sword and I was going to be holding it in my other hand. So, and after I said that, they were like, oh. Which kind of made it funnier.
Yeah, it was so funny because, yeah.
They were going from so impressed.
They were so impressed. Oh, both hands. What a great name. Yeah. And then he goes, the other hand's sword. And they go, oh. Yeah. It was like actually audible disappointment, which was so funny.
Yeah.
But I think it just, I don't know, that kind of just fit your character vibe as well. I mean,
rude.
It fit your like your personal character vibe, not Strike, but Rowan.
Yeah.
Not thinking well on his feet, unfortunately.
True. After that, what did we do? Did we go and look for the new players?
Yeah. We tried to go back and find the new characters, the new LARPers. We ran into a couple other people. I showed off the sword.
Yeah.
And we showed off your sword, which is the top one, but because he wants to reuse his sword at another LARP, we've taken that ribbon off and we've been tying it to my sword because my sword isn't going to get reused, because the next LARP we're going to be going to, unless something miraculous happens and we go to another one sooner, we're gonna go to Empire again in June. And my character uses just the one sword because she's a healer, so she doesn't really need a much longer sword. This one's about half a foot longer, I think. Bonk, I just cut my head open. But yeah, we tried looking for our new friends to see what they wanted to do.
Couldn't find them.
Find them, and then I think there might have been a camp attack.
Maybe, or we went around to see the guilds. I know we definitely went around to go see all the guilds at one point.
Yeah.
That might have been straight after the enchanting as we circled back round to go to camp. So we saw the Menhir, which obviously the LARP is called Menhirs Fate.
Yep.
So in one of the tents there was a big rock that's the Menhir.
The Menhir.
That the gods... I don't know the backstory around it, actually. I'm guessing the gods built Haven around the Menhir. And it's like a magical standing stone, essentially, that all of the weaving rites are held at. And
the Menhir, through the power of weavers, which is one of the magical kind of abilities that you can have at Menhirs Fate, they can channel their power through the Menhir, and the Menhir will weave and enchant things and stuff like that, which is really cool. It had projectors pointed at it, and also had like this giant mesh around it that helped capture some of those projection lights to kind of create, at one point it's snowing and then there's green grass, and we didn't take any photos because you're not allowed to walk around with your phone out in the character section and stuff like that. So if you want to see it, you'll have to go. They're having one at the beginning of May that we can't go to, unfortunately, but it's okay.
Not sponsored.
Not sponsored.
And then after that we walked, the next one along was the Adventurers Guild.
Yep.
And as we were walking past, we heard someone saying one myth to join the Adventurers Guild, which was literally half the money we had.
Half the money that we started with because we took
the air resource.
The air resources.
So we got a little bit less money compared to people who took the money resource.
Yeah, so we were like, nah.
Yeah. And then I think we went into the...
Yeah, we went into the Treasure Hunters Guild.
And they said about finding an item in Haven.
In Haven. And that rather than payment to join, we had to go out and like find this item. So then we did go out, we started finding it. He spoke to us like in a group, because there was a couple other people that came in.
A lot of other people.
At the same time, so he talked to all of us at once, and this one guy made a joke of like, well, there it is right there. And in the guild master is what they're called, who is the crew member, he was just like, I like you, let me tell you something, come outside. And so we all just kind of sat there, and he was like, no, come on. So he took us all out and told us that he gave them to specific nation support members.
Yeah.
But he did tell us to use our wit, but also to be a bit sneaky and a bit thievery. So we thought that it was gonna be just kind of like out on like their tables or like somewhere on their person where you could just kind of whoop off.
Yeah.
Which turns out not to be what the case was. The case was to go up to people and say, do you have this item? What would you... I could give you this for it, and like trade them for the item.
Yeah, which I guess is like a way of doing it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's the way the guy... the impression he gave isn't the way he intended it to have been.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
But yeah, that's okay. So we did a little bit of searching with a couple of people who were in that little like first group, because he said you can do this, you know, in a group. So we set off, we were like chatting with them. Then we did run into the new LARPers a bit later on, and they'd also been to the Adventurers Guild. Yeah. And so we
were looking for them, weren't we?
Yeah. Well, as you know, as we're going around, and so I told them the pointers of like possibly where to find it from what he had told us. So I was just like, you know, spreading the wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
And then there must have been a camp attack then. At some point we went back.
One at some point, yeah, which was crazy.
Yeah. It was...
I think we were the first one, were we? Because...
Yeah, we're at the direct line of fire from the monster crew tent.
Yeah. So I think we said last week all of the camps were out in like a pie shape, and then our little segment directly out was the skirmish crew tent.
Yep. Where
they just walked down from towards the centre, which happened to be right past the front of our tent, really.
Yeah.
So we got to have a little battle.
That was when you were trying to put... We went back, I think, for food, and then we heard we heard it too late that there was going to be a camp attack, so we started putting armor on, and you were trying to put my chainmail on.
Yeah.
And that's when they came and attacked.
Yeah.
And we had a bit of like a miscommunication where I was like, go, like, quickly put it on me. And he thought I meant go fight.
Yeah, I just heard go, so I went.
Yeah, so he went, and I just stood there. I was just like missing out, because it was like, I didn't have my armor with me. Like, I could have gone. I would have had 3 hit points, and, you know, I could have had fun. And I feel like sometimes I just get so in my head and I get so stubborn that, yeah, I just kind of...
no.
That I just kind of stood there and was like upset while they dealt with the enemy at our border.
Yeah. And then you didn't really want to put it on, because you're like, well, what's the point now? The camp attack's happened. And I was like, well, like, just put it on, because like we don't know if it's going to happen again. So we ended up putting it on, and they just, like, the crew were just going around in the circle, essentially attacking every nation.
Yeah. At that time, it was starting to get dark as well. So, like, once they had gone, it wasn't necessarily like we could see them just hobbling over. Obviously, our characters wouldn't be able to see them hobbling over. Yeah. Because, you know, arm up, you're invisible. So, right, they're just all walking around with their little arms up like this. So, like, we couldn't actually see them as our characters. But at the same time, because the field was so open, I think it definitely happened on Saturday, where you could see a mass of blue near the monster tent, and someone go, I think I hear something on the horizon or just over the hill.
My oracle magic has given me a sign.
Yeah. Which is a bit of a shame. Like, it'd be nice if...
It can't be helped, it's just part of the game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just how the field really is, that they don't really have anything to, like, block the attack before it happens.
Yeah, although they've got wind barriers, so maybe if they had, like, all of those around the edge so that people could, like, walk around... That would have helped us with the awning problem as well.
But those, I've had to set those type of gates up, not with the wind barrier sheets on them, but I've had to set them up for work, and they're a massive pain in the ass. So I would not want to be part of that crew that had to set all of them up. But yeah, so there was a couple other attacks on the Friday.
Yeah, and then we were walking with the new player group, like just chatting to them, trying to catch up with them, see how they were getting
We were
on.
trying to catch up with them. They hit the ground running, and I was so impressed by them. And it just was like, we were just kind of like, leave us in the dust.
We're like old people, like hobbling to catch up with them. Like, wait, please, boys, come back. My back is giving out. But then like a camp attack happened, so you got I think you had a couple things on you, and I said just give them here because I had already fought and I know you wanted to.
Yeah.
So
I think it was like
just
water and like cups and stuff like that, and so I took off running, and that was into Erdreven was that camp attack when we were walking with them, because the skirmish crew was still kind of going in that around circle, and so I killed a fallen, which is what the enemy was called. Basically they're the fallen of our own people, so of the 9 nations, but they are cold, they're like that's and they had these like blue with white handprint scarves and stuff like that, and I killed one just outside of a tent area. They constantly were able to push up like really far into camp throughout the weekend, so that
I think I said
that was a bit scary. They got really close sometimes to like the center of town.
One time they got extremely close, and I think when I was speaking to the crew member like just outside the showers, he was saying like they wanted the players to be drawn out to like the big force, but I don't think the players wanted to run out to them.
We were like, let's stay by the tents.
Yeah, which obviously is dangerous, and that's why they wanted to draw us out.
Yeah.
But as a player, like, you don't want to run out and die, because then you're just in the middle of nowhere with like no one around and nothing around to help. But I think I think next time it'll be a lot better. I think people will be more active in moving out.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
I think towards the end of the weekend, that definitely happened. Like, there was the one on Sunday, which we'll come to, but we were like right out towards the edge of the field, to the point where we were having to come back in a little bit to let them respawn, essentially.
Yeah, we constantly kept pushing them back into the monster tent. But we'll cover that on
so we had
Friday.
the camp attack, and then you killed the Erdreven.
I didn't kill an Erdreven. I killed a fallen
in the Erdreven camp.
In the Erdreven camp.
Sorry,
I killed a couple. Well, helped kill a couple. But yeah, there was the one final we got down. And by that point you had caught up, and we did like a bit of double checking, and then our new friends took off on their lovely adventures, and we realized, was it at that point we realized it was late and we needed food? No, was that later?
I think we went back for
such a blur.
Yeah, we went back for a snack, I think. And then the group, we caught up with them. They found one of the little things for the Treasure Hunter Guild. We went in with them to hand it in, but we were like, oh, we've just like caught up to you. We were just kind of there when they found it and got it.
We hadn't been like actively searching with them. Like, I had given them the pointer that we had been given by the guildmaster earlier, but like, we hadn't really actually actively been looking all the whole time, nor had we been like really running around with them, and they were so kind and gracious.
Yeah.
They said, we think there's a 6-player limit, but if there's not, then put your names down. And when we went in, the guild master didn't really say anything about how many people. He was just like, well, there's a lot of you. Okay, write your names down.
Yeah.
And yeah, one of the last people of that group was signing, and you know, she read through the list and was like, oh, you haven't signed, like, come on, sign it. And I just said, you know, it just doesn't really seem fair, because like, we haven't actually been on this like adventure with you guys, but you know, we thank you for like the offer, but you know, we don't want to like, we don't
want to steal the glory, I guess, really, because like, they did a lot. It sounds like they went everywhere, like, looking, and we were just kind of there when they found it, which and
it was kind of like, I think we would have had a really fun weekend had we like signed our names and like stuck with them. I think we would have had like a really good time, and we would be with like a really good bunch of people, like,
oh yeah, definitely,
I think that would be like, I think, one like small regret, but at the same point I don't regret it, because I do really enjoy, like, I really enjoyed what we got up to ourselves, and I think it was a really good test of Menhir Fate, of us just doing kind of what we went to Empire as, just a duo playing a game. And we definitely noticed a big difference at Menhir Fate. It was much easier to do things just as us duo. Mixing in, you know, other people, going, you know, having these like camp attacks where you're fighting with other people as well, but like, you can get up to like kind of adventure-y things and join adventure-y things just as a duo. I
think, was it at that point we
left.
And I think they were a bit disappointed that we left after speaking to them after, which was like, hearing about it after, we're like, oh, I think felt bad.
I think we should have.
Well, we did feel bad.
We did feel bad. I think we should have said something, like, we should have gone out of the tent and said something, not to just the one person, but to like the group as a whole. Because now I regret it, and I hope they're not mad. Like, we love you guys. We're so beyond happy, like, how much fun you had. It's really thrilling to see brand new LARPers, because they all ended up like, one experienced LARPer with them, very experienced LARPer, more experienced than us, and then 5 brand new LARPers. Were in this group.
And speaking to them, like, if they hadn't have told me that they were brand new, I would never would have guessed it, because of like how well they hit the ground running.
They did it so well, and I know like a few of them had like their struggles, and like we talked like out of character, trying to like help them like grasp how it feels, but also like share, like, it doesn't come naturally, as we talked about like in our first episode, like role playing in person like that, it sometimes does just feel like you've been teleported yourself, like Stephanie and Ron have been teleported to this place where you know nothing. And it can be like so overwhelming when people come up to you and you think, you know, and you can't really remember exactly what skills you have and whatnot like that. But I think after that we left them.
We went on a tour of the nations, so we ended up speaking to quite a few of the threads of the different nations, which were the nation supports. And we had a really good time with that, like, speaking to them and just learning a bit more about the other nations, really.
I think, well, we ended up, I don't think we spoke to any threads in the Wonder, but we did kind of walk through the Wonder at the time, because we kind of went back towards Saradonia, then we went past Kairos, where we knew some people, but there wasn't much going on. We went through Valdraith, and it was dark, people were setting up their campfires. There were groups sitting around.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was just my interpretation of like how everything was. Saradonia, like, it definitely felt like more like open, like, you know, spaces and stuff, like,
yeah,
we're not so much like spread out. Like, I felt like we were a bit more compact, which made it feel more like comfortable in a way, versus like all the groups, because, you know, we had Shattered Bridge, and like right across them there was another fire when their group and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it just was like, oh yeah, you can kind of like easily go up to them, versus
we had like a big main road, which I think a lot of the different groups had some access to, so it made just walking up the main road, there was always something on either side, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all of them had like a main-ish kind of road, but like when we went through Valdraith in the like in that darker evening time, like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and there were like groups, their fire pits were kind of like so set far back from like what felt like their main road, that it felt kind of a bit like, oh, like, can I walk up to, and then like, I'm sure we could have, I'm sure it would have been fine, but I think so, yeah. We just didn't. So we ended up walking through there. We ended up in the Wonder, and there was a group with a tent. We kind of were like, oh, is this a bar? We just kind of showed up, and then you started talking to a priest of the Jester.
Yeah. So everyone gets a faith token, which is like it was just on like another card. Yeah, and essentially like all the different priests, they can dedicate you to that god
for the weekend. Mm-hmm.
So then you give that faith token to the person, and then they can use that in whatever ways they have access to. So it's like one of the skill trees, essentially. Yeah,
I think they can use faith for calls, but they can also use faith in like building shrines and stuff like that through the Bankers Guild and stuff like that. Yeah.
So I was speaking to Priest of the Jester, and it seemed like he was the only one, which was like really cool. I liked speaking to him. Feel kind of bad that I didn't give him my faith token, because at the time I was like, I wanted to speak to a priest of every god.
Yeah, if possible.
To try and so then I could decide, because
he almost it was so close. I was sat there watching, because my character's from the Warrior Under the Mountain district, so she is grown up like with the warrior, so I was like half tempted. We had a big loud priest of the warrior in Saradonia that like
very commanding presence.
He was great, and you know, my character was just like, do I dedicate myself to the god that I've always been following where I've lived? And I think it was like a torn where I was just like, oh, I don't know, like, you know, being in the new place. So I was actively listening, but he was talking to you about it, because your character was the more like kind of like searching about it. And I feel like he was like this close to actually getting your faith token like in that moment.
Yeah, I think I probably would have if I had my book with me with my faith token.
Yeah, that was the big thing, because we both have like notebooks, and I had a pouch for mine and he didn't have a pouch for his. Yeah. And because you never know when a camp attack's gonna happen, you just weren't carrying around your book. Yeah, basically. So I feel kind of guilty that I didn't give my faith token to that person, because they did win me over and I did really enjoy talking to them. And they gave you jingle bells.
They did give me jingle bells, yeah, which I still have, and I'll probably wear next time actually as well. I wore them that night.
Well, yeah, one of your character things is that you want to have like some sort of symbol of every god on you. Yeah. So you've embroidered an anvil into
half embroidered, it's fallen out.
We need to fix it, but yeah, you've embroidered, and that was all that you got to. But now you can say that you have a symbol of the Jester, not necessarily embroidered onto your jumpsuit like you were thinking, but you do have the bell, which is one of the symbols of the Jester.
Yeah, I think when I do come around to embroidering it, I will embroider a bell on now because of that.
Yeah, cute.
Which I'm excited about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we walked to, I don't know what the next one was. Was it Achaidh next?
Yep.
Yeah. And then we spoke to
one of the
threads there, and was
Love them.
learning about the different Achaidh people, because we didn't know anything about them. They live off the land, but they don't farm. They're always moving.
Dinosaur stuff.
Yeah, which was cool. It was cool.
Yeah, no, it was so cool talking to them. And then there was
my third choice nation, so I wanted to learn a bit more about them, and it was better than what I thought, actually. I think potentially it moved up to my second choice, but kit wise, Valdrith probably would have been is a better second choice, just because it's more transferable.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I don't know. Maybe not. Depends on at other LARPs what you want to do, or what other LARPs you'd want to do, how transferable things are. Like if you want to be a Viking, having the pelts and the furs of Erdreven would transfer very well into that. Versus if you want to continue staying in the high medieval fantasy vibe of Valdrith, Dawn, and there's other LARPs that have those kind of vibes as well. But yeah, so that was really cool. And then there was something going down in their neighboring area of Portavos. So the thread went to go deal with that, and we continued walking around. We kind of looked at Hammerstadt, we looked at Portavos.
We spoke to one of the threads in Hammerstadt as well, very briefly. Yeah, there wasn't many people there.
Where are we?
Yeah.
That was mostly walking around the circle and trying to remember from the map, but we didn't check the map before we went around.
Yeah.
Nor did we print it off like we should have, or wrote it down. So yeah, then we walked through. I can't remember. It must have been.
It would have been Portavas, and then it would have been Morvalis.
So yeah, when we were walking through Morvalis, and we were we were kind of looking for big groups of people, because we were if people are congregating there, there must be something interesting, right? So I turned over my shoulder, and back on this pathway behind us as we're going to Morvalis, I was there's a large group of people in that tent. And then one person, they had a bench, and then one person turned around on the bench and went and I was I think they're hissing at us.
So, needless to say, we quickly left there.
We were okay, get out of here, And I think we just... So yeah, we finished our nation tour back at Saradonia.
Yeah.
And then realized that we both kind of needed to the loo.
Yeah.
So we walked to the nicer loos. We're at the trader section.
Yeah.
Which, when you look at the map, looked like it was right on the nations. It was actually quite a distance because there's room to grow. And yeah, they had proper little trailer bathrooms.
Or you could sit down and it not be absolutely disgusting like a portaloo.
Which was the center.
Unfortunately, I had to take off 2 belts, I had to take off my gambeson, strip my overalls down to my knees so that I could actually go to the toilet.
Yeah.
Which meant I took it felt 20-30 minutes for no reason other than just getting dressed and undressed.
Yeah.
And then you were feeling a little bit down.
Yeah.
Well, we were both feeling down and disheartened a little bit.
Yeah. Which is not any one particular thing's fault. And so while we were sitting there, I was kind of thinking of an app that we both use that I've gotten some of my other friends to use as well, called Finch. And in that, one of the daily tasks is to read a motivational quote. So I decided to make myself my own motivational quote in the moment.
Yeah, I completely thought that you got that from the app.
I didn't have my phone on me.
I know, but
and it was just I just said, I'm not going to let expectations ruin my emotions. And it was there was a bleed of my own disheartened feeling
and like
about
stress as well, because I think
stress about a particular thing that was happening, like.
Well, it's just stressful, like trying to get everything ready. Like that whole day was kind of stressful, and then obviously we said about putting the armor on for the camp attack. That was like stressful, and
Yeah. So there was like quite a few things that kind of all led into it, and that was bleeding into my character, and I found it really hard to be joyous. Like when we had been going around a little bit earlier than that, we ran into people from the Wonder, and I'd said, well, if I find someone from the Wonder, this is what I want to do. And I was so excited, this is what I want to do. And once we hit them, he goes, oh, you're from the Wonder. Can you tell me about this? And in my mind, I was pissed at him. I was like, I'm not in the mood to roleplay that right now. Like, I want to do that some other time. I wanted to gloss over the fact that they were from the Wonder, because Stephanie, was in a, like, I wasn't feeling great at that moment.
Yeah.
And, probably mostly somewhat of, like, my introvertedness and self-consciousness was playing into that. And so I did perk up a little bit, like, in that conversation, but then, yeah, while waiting for him at the loo to undress, go, get redress, you know, I was just like, I'm not gonna let expectations ruin my emotions, because when it's ruining my emotions, it's making it hard to portray how my character would be, and my character would mostly always be joyous. Like, sometimes serious is what I, like, have my mind for her, but for the most part, you know, being uplifting and bright is what I wanted to do, and I wasn't really doing that. So then you came out finally, and I was like, I got this for us. Ready? Say it with me.
I will not let expectations ruin my emotions.
Yeah. And so that kind of came our little, like, chant. And then we headed back to camp at that point, and we started the fire up for the evening to heat up water for the water bottles.
Yes, because
it was cold.
We knew it was going to be cold.
Yeah.
And while we were doing that, like, there was calls like, oh, it's like something's coming. So like, a bunch of people rushed to the edge of camp, like with their weapons drawn.
I rushed.
I was like, oh, like, you go, I can look after the fire, because I knew that you were probably feeling a little bit more down than I was at that point, or it affects you more.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, you go and, like, go do the thing, have fun, and I'll worry about the fire. I love you too. Friend. And it turned out to be a troll.
Evil troll.
Not evil.
Not evil.
Not evil.
It was
Lovely.
Achaidh the troll.
Yeah.
Guided by one of the guild masters from the adventure hall, the Port of Os one, who yelled at us as we came running with swords. What are you doing? Put your weapons away. This is Achaidh the troll. I'm taking him to the Adventurers Guild. We need to reclaim his home. It is being overtaken by the fallen. And so I got to be one of the two people at that moment who got to, like, really have a chat with Achaidh himself, and me and this other person from our nation, we both got to shake Achaigh's hand, which was really cool. I showed him my shiny rock when I turned it on. Oh, and now it's turned off because the battery...
You broke it!
No, if we hit it again, I'm sure it'll... There you go, it came back on. Yeah. He likes shiny rocks. He has shiny rocks at his cave. And, so then he was escorted off to the Adventurers Guild, and I came back and I told him what it was. I was like, oh, it's Achaidh. He's going to the Adventurers Guild. They need to save his home. And we just heated up hot water bottle water. Yeah. And kind of went to bed at that point.
Yeah, I feel like it was kind of an early night.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't, because it took a really long time to heat up the hot water bottles, and we went to bed at 1 a.m.
Yeah, fair. So that happened, and then we woke up and we sort of decided, oh, we're gonna, like, go do the Adventurers Guild stuff because Achaidh was cool and we want to help Achaidh.
Yeah.
And
but maybe we save it for another time because it's already over an hour
Yeah.
to go into Saturday.
Yeah.
How long do people want to be bored for? That's the question.
I say we bore them 20 minutes or like 40, 50 minutes at a time, you know?
Yeah, so I feel like we should probably
Yeah.
stop about now then.
To be continued.
To be continued. What happens after we signed up for the Adventurers Guild on Saturday? You'll have to find out
Yeah, and we'll have to remember.
in the next episode. Yeah, because it's also pretty late now, so maybe tomorrow evening.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe a couple days from now.
Probably tomorrow.
Probably tomorrow. We'll record the next one, but I'll probably take time to edit through them because I'm doing that and I have to go back to work tomorrow.
Whee. I have to go as well.
No more adventuring, no.
No.
No more relaxation, no.
Yeah, it was nice. I kind of like completely forgot about work for the 3 days, which was
the
lovely.
point, is the point of going away for LARP is to take yourself away from reality and just let yourself be immersed in
the character and the world.
Yeah. It was great fun, and we'll share more adventures next time. And thank you for listening to Beyond the Fantasy Costumes and Courage.
Yeah. Thank you. We love you. We appreciate you for listening.
Yeah.
Future us.
As well. Yeah. Oh, I just think it's gonna be so weird going back in time and watching
Yeah.
us. We're just friends. That's our character joke.
Yeah.
Because they were just friends.
So I can't remember. Someone said, "Oh, are you a couple?" And then we looked at each other and you went, "Oh."
Ooh.
We were like, "Oh,
no.
just friends."
No, God, no. We're just friends. We're just mates. Yeah, and that's how we got to bring in how we collect the air essence together that we met in the caves, collecting air.
Yeah, and then
they said, "Yeah, well, air is important in the caves." I'm like, yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you. Talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Jazz hands.
Jazz hands.